It's coffee time!
Okay, you guys, so triangle was really good. I was nearly passing out because food and movie and cozy time plus the heat. So I've had another shower. I've showered like what it feels like 40 times today already just to feel fresh. And I think I'm gonna make some cold coffee with the leftovers from the morning. It's something I do a lot. Sorry if this is disgusting from some of you, but it's just coffee from this morning, so I just recycle it and I have it cold later throughout the day. Since we are in the evilathon, I'm going to use this one here, this jug. So we're just gonna pour some coffee in it. Yeah, good stuff. Then I always pour some milk that I have open. At the moment I have almond milk open, so almond milk, I don't care. So a little bit. Wonderful, wonderful. Like in the morning, I like my coffee only black. I don't like any milk in the morning, but if I'm gonna have a cold one later on the day, I like with a splash of milk. So, and of course we are gonna need our ice cubes. So my ice cubes are in these kind of Fantastic Four ice cubes. Yep, that's what happens when you're a nerd. So I'm gonna put a couple of these. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yep. We're gonna need, I think, 3 today. It's a very hot day, you guys. Perfect. Alright, so we have our cold coffee. So now let's go for the next book. I think I'm gonna try to read halfway, at least half of White is for Witching, so that I can finish it tomorrow if I read half today, half tomorrow. So we're gonna go for that one now. And since I do have an air conditioning, even though it loses water and that has not been fixed yet, so I always have to have this kind of bucket underneath and books holding it. This is another perfect example of what good books are good for, to hold your bucket of water. So they're so multi-purpose, you guys. So because I am using my air conditioning, I don't really use it too often, but today is one of those days where I have to for my own life. So I'm gonna be reading on my sleeping room. So we're gonna change to here where I'm gonna do some of my reading now so that I can read in peace with some cold fresh air. So let's do that. I am all settled. I have my beverages, water and cold coffee. I have all my books and my notepad to take notes of the books that I'm reading, so I can give you some feedback. So we're going to read now, like I said, White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyemi. And I believe this is a supernatural kind of haunted house story or a cursed story. So I really do dig those, so I'm hoping it's gonna be great. And then I'm gonna finish the 2 stories that I have left of Who's There. And hopefully still before the end of the day, I'm really hoping to still have time to at least check out Amnesia. This is a short point horror book that I have never read before. It's only 180 pages, so I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to read it. This is also kind of easier to read. These tend to be kind of more you know, easy, fast-paced books. So that's my hope, that I can read half of these, finish this, and also complete this. We have big plans, I know, but together we can make it. Okay, you guys, next checkup time. So it's been a couple of hours since I last checked with you, so I thought before night really falls and I am too tired to keep going. I wanted to give you a little update on the things that I have been reading, so let's check. All right, so first of all, I finished Who's There, and the last two short stories actually were so different from the other three. I feel like the last two stories were a little bit more about grief and family and drama, and not so much on the horror side, which is nothing bad. I still really did enjoy them, especially the last story was really good. Let me see, The Voice Canal is about some university students, exchange students from Indonesia that are in another country, and they are kind of communicating with their family via, you know, video chat and stuff like that. And there seems to be a problem with the internet, and I like that, you know, we are utilizing technology with something supernatural in that story. That's all I'm gonna say. And the last one, it's about a mother and her son, and the mother is having a lot of like dark thoughts about life and what makes people murderers, and you know, like humanity and all of those things. And I really enjoy that story. I think it's very powerful, and even though it was less on the horror side, in the sense that we know horror, but you know, it kind of deals of who are the real monsters in this world. So yeah, I really enjoyed these book. It's 5 different stories. So if you're looking for something a little bit different, because this is inspired by Indonesian culture, then you know, you should check it out for sure. And then I read a big chunk of White is for Witching. I think I'm gonna keep reading this one tonight until I fall asleep. So this one, I'm gonna wait for tomorrow to give you my thoughts on the book, because I want to read a little bit more about it before I give you some impression on it. Because honestly, the story right now, it's not too easy to piece together, because we're getting a lot of information from different points of view that are changing all the time. So it's a little bit complicated to follow up, but I really do like where the story is going, or I think it's going, but I want to read a little bit more before I give you my thoughts on it. But what I did finish is Amnesia. These are, you know, short reads. It's only 180 pages or so. This was actually really entertaining. It was a little bit more like your typical thriller, I would say, more than horror. There is some horror elements at the end of it, but it felt more like your typical thriller story. I really enjoyed it. We are following a girl that wakes up in a hospital, and everybody's acting weird, like the nurses and the doctors. She thinks something's wrong. They're always smiling and laughing, and she thinks it's not kosher, and she's really scared because when she looks at herself in the mirror, she doesn't recognize her face. So they tell her she's been in an accident and she has lost her memory, but not to worry, because her sister is gonna come and pick her up and take her home. But when her sister comes, she doesn't recognize her sister. When they go home, she doesn't recognize anything about that house. And she, you know, I had the feeling like everybody was making all the decisions for her, and she was kind of trying to be pushed to be this person that she doesn't remember that she was. So it was kind of like this typical thriller story, and it takes from there. Is it predictable? A little bit, but it was still very entertaining, and I'm glad that I finally got to another point horror story. And I'm still collecting these, so I hope to read more throughout the year as well. So at least today I read these 2 plus the Festering ones, which is somewhere there. and I'm gonna keep reading this one. So I am pretty happy with what I have accomplished today, because I still, you know, had a busy day doing, you know, the regular chores and things that you do as an adult. And I even watched a movie. So I think I'm gonna try to maybe watch another horror movie and keep reading a little bit White is for Witching. And I'll probably see you guys again tomorrow. Hopefully I can sleep better today so that I am a little bit more energized tomorrow. I hope today was not too boring. I just tried to focus on showing you clips where I talk more about what the books are really about, more kind of like into the review side of things, because else these vlogs get too long, and I'm mostly just home right now still. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good morning everybody. Today too, I am so tired. I ended up going to bed like around 2 o'clock I think last night, because again the heat, it just doesn't let me sleep. So it is now 7 a.m. and we are gonna do what I like to do in the mornings, which is get my coffee done, make a coffee, and just make a list of little things I want to do throughout the day. And probably I will just, you know, track and rate the books that I finished yesterday. And I think today I'm going to try to read different things just to be able to give you guys you know, more different reviews. I like in these vlogs where I read a lot of things in a short period of time, to start multiple books so that I can give you my initial thoughts on those books. So maybe if you're interested, you can grab those. So I forgot yesterday, I also have on my Kindle Out of Body by Jeffrey Ford, I believe it was, which is only 100 pages I think. It's like a short novella, so I think I'm gonna read that one today as well, because that is a 2020 release. Yeah, so first of all, let's get our coffee done, and let's get, you know, some business done, like answer to some emails, all of those things, and rate the books from yesterday. And then we can get to the serious business, which is reading our books. And last night I ended up watching Little Monsters. It is a horror comedy from 2019. I have been waiting to watch it. I am not a huge fan of horror comedies. I think like I'm more of a fan of horror comedies from the 80s and the 90s when they were a little bit more cheesy. So with the new ones, it's always a hit or miss for me. This one, it was okay. What I would give to this movie is that it's very original and it's pushing the boundaries sometimes, especially because the whole movie, we have a group of little kids that are trapped in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. And so it's interesting to see, because when you shoot with kids this type of movies, it's harder. So there were a couple of jokes that I didn't like. I think they pushed it a little bit too far in my opinion. But if you're looking for a fun zombie comedy that it's nothing like what you've seen before, I would still recommend you to give it a watch. I think it is definitely worth a watch. So we have our coffee. We are ready to start the day with some reading. So yesterday, and as I promised, I did read halfway through White is for Witching, and so I'm here to give you my feedback on the first part of the book. So in this book, we are following Mary and Elliot. They are twin brothers, and Mary has developed an eating disorder called pica, something like that, which means she likes to eat non-food items like chalk. And sadly, their mom, Lily, passed away. And so the dad decides to take the twins and move into a family home that they had. And in that house, there is something that has a hold on Mary. And things started to get a little bit weird in the house. I honestly really like the kind of atmosphere, the kind of vibe that the book is trying to build up, but I'm having a lot of trouble following up because there is so many different points of view that just change all of a sudden. And Also, the plot is a little bit messy to follow, for at least for me. I don't know if it's just me. So like I see where the story is going, and I'm enjoying it for the atmospheric part, for the mystery part of what's going on with this house and with this family, especially with the kid. But I'm also feeling a little bit like it's harder for me to make progress with the book because of the plot being a little bit more complicated and messy to follow. So I'm still gonna finish it, obviously, and give you my thoughts on the rest of the book probably on my wrap-up. But for the readathon, I think I'm just gonna set this one aside and try to read other things, also because I like I said before, to read different books during a readathon, so I have a lot of different things to talk to you about. So the plan is to read first on my Kindle Out of Body by Jeffrey Ford. I was wrong, it's not 100 pages, it's 176, but that should be manageable. And what really made this book interesting for me was the story. So it's about a small town librarian that witnesses a murder, and then he starts to have sleep paralysis, and in those times where he's dreaming and gets the paralysis and all of that, he starts to experience some weird nightmares and stuff that have to do with a killer. So I was like, this sounds amazing, yes please. So yeah, that's the one that we're gonna start first. The book is starting pretty good because the first line is, Owen sat with a cup of coffee at the kitchen table. That's my type of line to start a book. Coffee, always good. Hi Blakey. So because it's so hot, this is his new favorite spot, sitting on my toilet. So as you can imagine, I'm not allowed to pee on my own home. Now let's check what my gremlin is doing. Hi gremlin. Yeah? What's happening? I swear they gave me a gremlin instead of a cat. I swear to God. I have been reading Out of Body, and honestly it's taking some turns I was not expecting. It's not something bad. So I'm 73% through with the book, so we're making good progress for today. I'm soon gonna be finished. I like it because it is about Owen, and he's a guy that he has his routine. He always does things the same way, and he always wakes up at 7 a.m. and he always grabs a coffee at the same place before he goes to work. So one morning he goes to get his coffee at this deli where he always gets his coffee from, and then somebody jumps the store and points a gun to the person that's working there, and so he gets hit in the head. And after that, apart from his sleep paralysis that he always had, he starts to experience something like an out-of-body experience, you know, kind of like astral projection. Like he feels when he falls asleep at some point he leaves his body, and he's able to move through the neighborhood and like spy people through windows, things like that. And so he starts doing that, and one day he finds somebody else that is kind of like really bright, and he talks to this woman, and she tells her that they are what is called sleepers, and they are able just to move around in this kind of realm where they cannot touch each other. So it's kind of like being a ghost, but it's like an out-of-body experience. And so they start, you know, to talk about how interesting it is that they're able to see people in their like intimacy, in their private moments, and if that is fair, if that's something that they should be doing or not. But anyways, of course, you know, humans are too curious. Of course we do that. And so while they're, you know, going through the neighborhood and investigating people and stuff, they make a very gruesome discovery, and that is where I am right now, and I'm loving this part. I was not really expecting to encounter this in this book. I'm not gonna tell you what it is because I don't want to spoil it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. So let's finish it now. Time for another update of today's evilathon. So I have finished the first book for today. That was the Out of Body by Jeffrey Ford that I was just talking to you about in my last clip. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the concept, the story, the the characters, but the ending was very rushed and kind of disappointing. But I want to read more of his short stories. He has a lot of other like novellas and things like that. I do like his writing. It's really fast-paced, it's really entertaining, and I did like the characters, but when we got to the end, I felt like I was cheated because it was like rushed and I did not enjoy the ending so much. I have to keep it real. So yeah, I enjoyed it up until the end because like I said, it had this twist that I was not expecting, and it was so cool, and then it didn't work for me at the end. But it was just the ending. The rest was really fun, so I do want to give the author more chances, so I'm going to be reading more of his works. My reading goal, it's going to be to read at least half of these when the sky goes dark, because I really want to check this book out. It was sent to me by the author, and it's an post-apocalyptic book, and I love those stories, so I want to read half of these, and then I'm gonna be reading a couple of the short stories from these Blumhouse book, and these are very short horror stories about, you know, the life behind the scenes of movies in Hollywood and all of that. So I do want to check a couple of these ones out so I can let you know, guys, how it is, because this is also a new release, so maybe some of you are interested, and I can give you my opinion on the first couple of stories so that, you know, I can let you know how they are and the vibe that they have. I mean, of course they're going to be different because they are by different authors, but the woman that edited this book, she's well known for editing, you know, like fantasy, horror, sci-fi books, so she has a lot of experience, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be really great. So I just want to check out some stories of these today. So that is the reading plan. I still haven't decided on the movies, so we will see on that, but that is so far the update, my friends. Do you have an update, honey? What's happening? Is it hot today? Huh? Oof. Yeah. Oof. Another update for you guys. So I have been reading When the Sky Goes Dark by Oliver C. Seneca, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I think that the pace that the book is taking is something that is part of why I'm enjoying it so much. It is kind of fast-paced, but the author is also taking time to give us a little bit of background, a little bit of personality from the characters, which I appreciate. So basically we are following John, and he's your typical guy. He feels like he's not special, he's not muscular, he's kind of like a nerd and shy with the girls, and so he's in college, and he's kind of telling us his experience there, when suddenly people start to act weird, like people start to act really violent against each other for no particular reason, and one day everything goes just batshit crazy, and there are many different kind of attacks throughout the whole country, just people just getting rage and just going crazy and berserker against each other for no reason. So the police and everybody is trying to control the situation, but it turns into kind of like an apocalyptic scenario. So our main character is trying to reach his family and his loved ones and make sure that they're okay, and on the other side he has to try to survive this new situation that he's been put into. So I'm really enjoying it so far. Definitely it has a great start, so I have still high hopes for this one. And now I would really like to enjoy a nice bath and relax a little bit, and try to refresh myself a little bit from this heat wave that we have currently in Europe. And what better way to do it than with final cuts, some horror stories, you know, combined with the film industry. I love books that combine the film industry or movies or anything like that with horror. and I just cannot wait to see how these stories are. I believe these ones are fairly short because I think there are like 18 or 19 of them in here, but I'm really excited, so I think that's what we're gonna do now. Here we are, ready to enjoy final cuts in a cold coffee with a nice cold-ish bath. And you know, always remember guys, from time to time, you gotta treat yourself. Hello you guys, obviously it is the next day. It is... That's my cat. If somebody knows what that is, please let me know in the comments. Is that a chupacabra? Is that a gremlin? We don't know. Hello you guys, as you can tell, excuse me. Excuse me. And it is Monday morning, you guys. You probably can tell. Yesterday I ended up not vlogging anymore after I had my bath. I just kept reading a little bit and decided to chill with a horror movie. And so yesterday I watched Odds Are. I don't know what I was expecting really, because the reviews were kind of bad, but it is based on a true story, and it is about a group of friends that end up locked in a stranger's house. And I thought this is gonna be maybe cool, but no, just like, don't even bother. It was horrible, like the script, the acting, horrible. So that was not great, but luckily the movie that I watched on Saturday, Triangle, was really good. So if you want to check that one out, I think that you should, especially now in summer. So I'm here to wrap up all of the things that I managed to read through this 48 hours evilathon. So everything is here behind me. I have my notes, so let's start. All right, I'm gonna start with the book that I read on my Kindle, which is a novella called Out of Body by Jeffrey Ford, and this one is 176 pages. I really enjoyed it, like I said, but the ending was a little bit disappointing. I also read Who's There, and it has a total of 162 pages. This is the collection of horror short stories, 5 stories in total. Then I read another novella, The Festering Ones, with 126 pages. Really loved it. This is gonna be a new fave. I absolutely loved everything about it. I just wish it would have been like a longer book and I would have been able to know more about this cult and these creatures. Everything just sounded so interesting, but it was so short. Then I read Amnesia with 181 pages. And I like this one. It was kind of more of a psychological thriller kind of story instead of horror, but I still really enjoyed it. Then I read until halfway through White is for Witching, so that makes a total of 122 pages read. I'm intrigued to know exactly what's gonna happen with the characters, but just changing the point of view of who's telling the story, and some parts of the story are a little bit confusing and messy for me, so I think that is why I'm not enjoying it as much as I was hoping I would, but I will report back once I finished it. Then I also read halfway through When the Sky Goes Dark, so I read 140 pages of it, and I'm really enjoying it because it is entertaining, it's fast-paced. I like this kind of, you know, a guy is in university and this kind of virus just spreads and everybody's getting violent, and I don't know, I'm really enjoying it, but I'm a sucker for, you know, apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic stories, so I will also report back on this one once I have finished it. And then I read 50 pages of Final Cuts, so I only read 2 stories. The second one was amazing because it involves kind of media, social media in a way, and I thought it was so smart. It could have been a great episode, you know, for Tales from the Crypt or something like that. Like, I absolutely love it if we would get like a new version of that. I think that story would fit right in as a short story. So I'm really excited to see what else this book can bring me. And that is all, you guys. I read a total of 905 pages, and I watched all in all 3 movies. I watched Triangle, Little Monsters, which is a very interesting horror comedy with zombies, and I watched Odds Are. So I watched Triangle was my favorite. Little Monsters, it's okay for one watch. I'm not such a huge fan of modern horror comedy stories, except a few ones that I really enjoy. And then Odds Are, just forget about that movie even exists. I really hope that you guys had an amazing evilathon if you did it for the 48 hours. As always, it doesn't matter if you read a lot, if you read just a little bit. The important thing is just to participate in any way. Doesn't matter if you read the spooky middle grade or YA or adult. It doesn't matter. Also, the movies, you can choose to watch, I don't know, like a Disney spooky film or something like that. It doesn't have to be like full-on gore and horror. So if you did participate, please let me know down below. What have you been watching? What have you been reading? I'm really curious to know. And if any of you have blocked the experience, please leave the link to your videos down below as well once they are uploaded. Thank you so much for everybody that has also been retweeting my tweets, supporting me on Twitter while I was posting pictures of my progress this weekend. I really appreciate your support so much. This readathon is one that it's going to be the full month of November. That's how it started, but I wanted throughout the year to have a couple of like express rounds of evilathon so we can also enjoy some horror throughout the year. So in November, expect a full month of evilathon with new fun prompts and things that we can discover together. For that one, I would also try to give you book and movie recommendations for everybody that maybe is not so much in the horror genre yet, but maybe you want to. So stay tuned for that one, and I hope that you enjoyed this vlog, my thoughts on the books, and I'll see you all in the next video.